Price of freedom is death. We are coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. Please, as you guys are coming in, I welcome you all in. For the newers, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. For the people who've been locked in, I appreciate you all as well. We're a little bit behind schedule, but that's because, you know, sometimes when you're doing a live stream and you see something that you think would be really good in the live stream, then you got to go get that. You got to go edit that up and everything like that. So we're going to be locked in. We got a lot to cover. We're going to be talking about Kamala Harris' desperate black appeal. Her appeal for black voters is really not working out. Now, we was discussing this about a week ago with the black agenda, the specific black agenda that she said was for black men, that we discovered, no, that actually wasn't true. It actually was not just in particularly for black men at all. It was actually just a way to make it seem as if she had a black agenda. So what she did was she said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take my agenda that I already have, and we're going to find a way to crowbar the words black men in there. So when they're thinking about it, they're all like, you know what, cryptocurrency, how do we make this a black agenda? We'll just find a way to add black men in the bullet point. And then it'll appear to people, because we're just going to have to assume that most people are not going to read the fine print, are not going to read the details. So it'll appear to people like we're doing something specifically for their community, which they ultimately had to confess that that's not what they're doing. But before we play that, as you guys are liking, make sure you do, as you guys are liking and subscribing, we're going to play this. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Right. All right. So this is them. This is Weldon Pierce talking about this agenda. Now, remember, we said when it first came out, I remember doing a live stream when it first came out, because it came out on a Monday and I go live on Mondays. I remember saying when it first came out, this is not for black people. Everybody said that. There's not a single, everybody, all through the black media, everybody was saying that. No, this is not no black only agenda. This is not even what we asked for. We talking about reparations, a hate crime bill. We're talking about specific tangibles, and you come up with cryptocurrency and marijuana. This is not what we asked for. So we said, just throw this away. This is garbage. And a lot of people got upset with that. They said, well, what do you guys want? She's doing something specifically for you. And we said, no, it's not specific for us. And then eventually they had to confess. And here is a clip of that.
To answer some of those challenges.
Just a key question, actually, because I wanted to ask you the policies in that. I mean, effectively, she said, I'm going to give you marijuana, I'm going to give you crypto, and I'm going to give you unconstitutional government bribes. If a white Republican politician had done that, we would be in 24/7.
That is a real disservice to an actual substantive policy platform.
To me, it was completely pandering.
Scott.
Okay, young people, regardless of their race, they want to hear about crypto. They want to hear about marijuana.
Black men. It was stated
decriminalization.
Yeah, it was stated because black men asked, "What are you going to do for me?"
Hold on. It was stated to only be for black men. It was never. The word "only" actually didn't come up a single time. The word "and" came up, and others, which means everybody. So it stated that no. The whole thing about black men, it triggers him. No, it didn't. No.
The idea that those are just...
Now listen to what he has to say. What he has to say about it.
Black men ask, "What are you going to do for me?" Hold on, Scott.
The idea that those are just
saying that this is what
black men is, I think, not true.
It's not loans for black men. It's loans for anyone. No, it isn't. It isn't. She was telling you this will be effective for you too.
For you also.
That I had already put out a week ago, actually a month ago, that these entrepreneurial loans will be beneficial to you. Just like I tell black folks, it is a black policy. Social Security is a black policy. Medicare is a black policy. It is effective, and it impacts your community as much as anyone else's community.
All right.
Carmen, I see you. I appreciate you with the hundreds in the chat room. Thank you so very much for that. I appreciate it. If everybody in the chat room got that, so we can have as many people in here, not even 5 minutes, over 100 people. Did you guys hear what he just said? He just said that Social Security is a black policy. Medicare is a black policy. So black policies are not policies for black people. Black policies are policies that include black people, that black people can partake in. These are the black policies that we are to expect. Now, when it comes to other groups of people, everybody else, if you say this is a policy for DACA, if you say this is a policy for Asian Americans, if you say this is a policy for the $5 Indians or Native Americans, if you say this is a policy for them, they are the only ones you can expect to benefit from said policy. Now, it's a policy for us. You can't have the same standard. No, the goalpost has moved when it's a policy for us. When it's a policy for us, what that really means is that it's really a policy for everybody, but we are included in everybody. So when it's a policy for everybody, yeah, the standards change. When it's a policy for us, it has to be universal. So we broke this down. This is why the whole black agenda policy didn't go anywhere. It never landed. It didn't gain her any traction. The needle did not move. And this is the problem. Everything she's doing, she's trying to pander and she's trying to push the needle as far as she can without actually doing anything substantive. She's trying to push the needle as far as she can without changing the status quo or even threatening to change the status quo. And this is what we're saying. And we're educated now. We have an era where black people, black men, black women, older, younger, are all locked in and all on code, standing on business, and we can understand and read through the fine print of all of this stuff. So when we see we say, no, take that back to the drawing board. Now he's confessing to it. So the whole black agenda thing, as well as her interviews and all of the policies she's been discussing that's supposed to be for our community, is not going anywhere. It's not gaining her anything. The needle is not moving. She's trying to do, it's very disappointing. I appreciate all of you all with the hundreds. It's very disappointing. She's trying to do this. They had this and for whatever reason, both parties, I'm gonna be very honest, both parties love barbershops. They love having a very staged thing at barbershops. And you can find this both on the Republican and on the Democrat side. They love setting up a camera and having a talk show or a thing. They just love it. They absolutely love it. They don't think black men are anywhere else to be found except the barbershop. Or the barbershop, or maybe a basketball court. That's where they think that black men spend our time, is the barbershop or basketball court. So they went to a barbershop and they had this. I can't even, like, we just got to play it. We just have to play it. If it would play.
And I haven't voted in the last 12 years. The last person that stepped up in presidency, to me, I felt like let me down a little bit. And I'm trying to figure out if I actually want to be a part of it as far as voting, because I feel like it's a bunch of things a lot of people didn't do.
So it's a presidential election going on? I think y'all know that.
Yeah, I know about it.
So I'm just interested in getting some general thoughts on the election and what you think, what you're hearing.
I mean, I'm not fully against Miss Harris, you know. I'm all for it and everything like that, but she's been kind of like the vice president in the last 4 years. How good has she done that to be able to actually step up as a full president?
I want you guys to understand. Every person you see here, the dude you saw, his name was Quentin Flux. That's the guy with the glasses. This is a part of the camp. He's a campaign manager. All right. He was managing, what's his name? I forgot his name already. That's how forgettable he is. Joe Biden's campaign. He was managing Joe Biden's campaign. Now he's managing Harris's campaign. This is a barbershop round table. all right, where they're having a bunch of people that they're trying to give the illusion of these are the average people from the street. All of these people here are staged. They're all planted. They all have a script. This is the one person who's supposed to be vocalizing that he has an issue or there's distrust within the party. So he's supposed to be there and he's supposed to be being swayed by everybody else. And you guys got to listen to these arguments. It's really sad. I'm just letting you know this now. This is all inorganic. This is all staged. This is all scripted. All right. So don't be surprised with what you hear here.
Let me ask you this question. How old is your mom?
My mom is 56.
What if I told you that they was trying to raise the retirement age on your mother? You'd be frustrated about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's one of the things that's on the line. Trying to raise the retirement age, Social Security. You have any sisters?
Yes.
Or a brother that have kids?
Yes.
Look at them entitlement programs, child care. We come from that. Those food stamps helped us out. So when the other side's talking about, we want to cut that, we want to raise the retirement age, my mom is 56. My mom walks with a limp right now. She can't work another 20 years. I take myself out the equation and look at my mother, my grandma. I was sitting at the table, man, here.
Before he gets to this, let me say something about the whole Social Security, food stamps, and all that stuff. You're vouching for that. There are people who rely on that, black and white, mostly white, let's be very honest. But you know who's getting a large amount in the last few years, the most benefit out of all of the Social Security, all of the governmental programs, all of the food stamps and Section 8 and all that? Illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants are the main ones benefiting from all of that. They're the ones getting thousands of dollars worth of food stamps. Now, the people who have, people have a hard time. The people who have been on government assistance, a lot of them are making videos saying, hey, my government assistance have been cut. They're cutting. You're talking about Social Security. These people are coming in, taking the Social Security. They're cutting into Social Security. These illegals are coming in here. They're taking the food stamps, the Section 8, all of this stuff, these assistance programs to keep people from like living homeless and being completely at the bottom, with people who need a little bit of assistance. And in my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion, we do have a government that we pay an enormous amount of taxes to. Okay, when you compare us to any other country and you compare our taxes to any other country, not just the amount of taxes we pay for one thing, how frequently we pay taxes on literally every single thing. We pay taxes on every single thing. So if the government does have the money to help people who might be having a hard time, I don't see that as a problem. Now, I don't want people to just be staying on that and using that. But if people have a hard time and they need a little bit of assistance or whatever the case is, okay. All right. Especially due to the fact that due to as foundational Black Americans, how they've held us back. Here's the thing, though. They talk about, okay, you're going to cut all of that assistance. You're going to cut all of those programs or whatever the case is. They're not going to do that. That is something that the Republican Party talks about doing all of the time. They threaten to do that all of the time, this spending and everything, because they word governmental assistance, they word food stamps, they word welfare, and they try to make it seem as if this is synonymous with the Black community. You see, the Blacks, they're on welfare. The Blacks, they got food stamps. The Blacks, they got Section 8, all of this stuff. How you know they're not going to cut it? Because the majority, let me be very clear, the majority of people who use food stamps, the majority of people who are on welfare, the majority of people who are on pretty much any type of government assistance are white. They are white people. So the whole thing of if they cut it, that's going to really hurt us. It's not going to hurt us as much as it's going to hurt somebody else, as much as it's going to hurt them. They need to be the main ones talking about we need to keep our welfare and our food stamps and stuff. They're on it way more. And that the Black community, we're the ones who get the stigma for it. And there's a few of us who are on it. We're the ones who get the entirety of the stigma for it, though. But then all that stuff, they've been talking about that for the longest time. But even if they said they were going to cut everything, look at who's benefiting from it now. You got a whole bunch of illegals getting thousands of dollars worth of food stamps, thousands of dollars worth of government subsidies that the government is denying the citizens of. They're cutting that from the citizens now. The Democratic Party is doing that. The Democratic Party is cutting aid and things from the citizens to give to the illegals. So the whole threat of Trump is going to do something that the Democrats are currently doing. Let's just put that in its proper context. Put everything in its proper perspective before he says this, because then I got to say something else. So before he says this, exactly, somebody in chat room, just like affirmative action. When they say, oh, they're going to cut affirmative action, you guys know how it's going to affect the black community when they cut affirmative action. I just did a live stream last week or so, maybe a week or two, I think last week, where I said them cutting affirmative action has not harmed black folk any bit, and actually has been a benefit to black people. It's been a harm to the Asian community, but it hasn't affected black people in negatively any way. The same way Social Security and all of this stuff that they keep telling us is going to hurt us. No, it's going to hurt everybody else more. But all of these assistance and lift all programs and stuff, when you actually look at the data of who benefits the most from that, it's everybody else. So they need to worry about it, not us. That's not our problem. Now, let's listen to what else he has to say. Take it back a couple seconds.
My mom is 56. My mom walks with a limp right now. She can't work another 20 years. I take myself out the equation and look at my mother, my grandma. I was sitting at the table, man, here. And my grandmother smiled and said, my prescription drugs at the lowest they ever been. But she smiled. I may not ever have that moment again, but seeing that and hearing that from your grandmother, I said, I know who I'm voting for. My grandma never steered me wrong in my life.
Yeah. Okay. This is how you know it's staged. Okay. Because we know our grandmothers don't talk to us about the cost of their prescriptions. A lot of our grandmothers and older people in their family, you know, their health is going down and they need to take some prescription. And this is just a thing that happens in America with people who get older. They need to take things to, you know, help their health. They have health illnesses and stuff like that. They don't talk to their grandchildren about the cost unless their grandchildren are somehow paying for it, or unless the grandchildren is a caregiver or anything like that. You mean to tell me your grandmother you're just sitting there having Sunday dinner with your grandmother, and she just looks up and smiles and said, grandson, my prescription drugs have never been this affordable. No, that is no, we don't believe that. We don't believe that. I'm gonna be honest. I call cap on that. I do. I call cap on it. And let's say that's true. Let's say that is true, that his grandmother's prescriptions were lowered. Okay, let's say that that's true. And let's say that she just randomly bought this up at dinner and she just smiled. And this was the only time he's ever seen his grandmother smile, was because her prescription drugs were more affordable. Let's say that. You don't think that the price of groceries and the price of rent and the price of mortgage and the price of bills and electricity and the price of gas, you don't think that the price of everything else going sky high is also affecting your grandmother? When they have these things about now your grandma can really afford insulin, well, that's really good because she can't afford anything else. The whole, your grandma can afford insulin, your grandma can afford her prescriptions, at least she can afford something, because she can't afford to keep food in the fridge. She can't afford to barely keep the lights on. She can't afford to keep that eviction notice off the door. She can't afford to put gas in her car. She can't afford anything else. So if we're talking about the love of our grandparents, if we're talking about we got to do this for our grandmother who we love so much, and I've never seen my grandma smile until she got prescription drugs for only $30 or something like that. If we actually do love our grandparents, and this is not cap, what about everything else that she has to pay for? Because if she has to pay out of pocket for her prescriptions and her insurance don't do that, because now all of a sudden we have elders who don't have any insurance that's giving them their prescriptions. We don't. We have elders who are actually paying for their prescriptions out of pocket. All of the elders are doing that in our community. All of a sudden, we don't have any insurance anymore. But okay, let's say all of our elders are paying for all of their prescriptions out of their pocket, and now they can save up. Now, are they, at the end of the day, let's say they are saving money from their cheaper prescriptions. Do at the end of the day, when they put their bonnets or their do-rags, or if they have any hair, when they lay down on their bed and go to sleep at night, is there more money in their wallet than it was when the prescriptions weren't there? Is it more money in their wallet than when Trump was in office? Because yeah, you're saving money on the prescriptions. Follow me, y'all. Follow me. You're saving money on the prescriptions, but then gas is higher, food is higher, rent is higher, bills are higher. Everything is more expensive. So yeah, you're saving here, but then you're paying everywhere else. So actually, there's less money in the wallet at the end of the day. If we put everything in its proper context, let's be very honest.
Sometimes it's also just about protecting progress too, because like if you think about it, you said you're a professional boxer and you care about the healthcare. Like Trump routinely tried to get rid of the ACA.
Yeah, I heard at the election where he was pretty much saying he wanted to get rid of it, but it's the close thing to an all right thing, so he'd rather keep that in place until he finds something better.
But when he was president,
How many times he tried to stop it? Tried to get rid of it?
over 30.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. But
It's wrapped too tight, too solid. He can't even get rid of it.
and when he was president, 200,000 African Americans lost health insurance.
Wow.
And then when you think about
I've never heard of that, but I don't know how true that is, but I've never heard of that. 200,000 Black Americans lost health. What did he do to make us lose health insurance? If he said he didn't get rid of Obamacare, they just said he didn't get rid of Obamacare, but we lost health insurance. Was that because of him? Like what? Oh, okay, all right. Y'all just said it didn't go nowhere, but we lost it. All right, okay. Y'all should have scripted that a little bit better.
all the other things like pre-existing conditions, like diabetes, insulin in our neighborhood.
One of them.
Like he trying to, you're
One of them, I'm diabetic, and yeah, I needed medication before I got me a full-time job, and I needed it. You know what I mean, to stay alive. You know, insulin, metformin. You know, you need this stuff.
When it comes to health and stuff,
Man, I'm trying to. They are really this is how they are really stretching this insulin thing. They taking this to the absolute max. Now this is at a barbershop, and and there's people who got diabetes, don't get me wrong, but then now the barbershop like, I needed this to stay alive. I couldn't afford insulin at its regular prices. I mean, I don't know how I was, living before Biden was president, but I was, but I needed it. They are stretching this insulin in the prescription drugs to its T. Like it's at its brick right now. It's at its brim. Okay. Can't go any further. They making it seem like this is something that has saved thousands of lives in the Black community. Okay. Boy, is they stretching this.
like that, I think in our communities, one of the biggest things that we're struggling with also is mental health. What's being in place with that?
That's that one right there is very, 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 very important. And that's something that will be a collective. Mental health is very important.
And like the vice president, she's always saying, like, you have to treat your mind as if it's any other part of your body. And people that we see on the streets, they live in our communities, they go in and they have like mental health problems, but there's nothing physically ailing them. So they just turn them back because insurance companies don't cover it. So one, the vice president is expanding insurance coverages to be able to cover mental health services.
Yes.
I know.
So therapy, that's what they're talking about, is therapy.
Disrespect. I guarantee you, in my opinion, about 80% of kids in Philadelphia suffer from PTSD. Stop you.
At least he said his perspective. He said 80. I want you guys. He said 80% of black kids in Philadelphia suffer from PTSD. All right. That's a very high number.
Because I was a juvenile when I got feet, hands, everything. I got beat on by the police. You feel me? Like, I went to court, hands, face, everything. They took pictures. Nothing never happened to the police who beat me or nothing. You feel me? Like, I never got compensated or anything for anything that took in place. It just literally, it got overlooked. And I'm glad.
Now, this brother, I want you guys, I'm going to take it back because this is a very important part of the conversation. He just talked about he got beat up by the police when he was in juvie or whatever, around that time. He got beat up by the police. It was really bad. They took pictures, everything like that. Listen to what he said and then listen to their response. I'm going to take it back just so you can really digest exactly what he just said happened to him. Now, let's, for the sake of the argument, say everything he's saying is 100% true. Let's say this is true. Listen to what he just said happened to him and then listen to their response. Listen to what they have to respond with.
So they just turn them back because insurance companies don't cover it. So one, the vice president is expanding insurance coverages to be able to cover mental health services.
Yes.
No disrespect. I guarantee you, in my opinion, about 80% of kids in Philadelphia suffer from PTSD.
Stop you there, because I was a juvenile when I got feet, hands, everything. I got beat on by the police. You feel me? Like, I went to court, hands, face, everything. They took pictures. Nothing never happened to the police who beat me or nothing. You feel me? Like, I never got compensated or anything for anything that took in place. It just literally, it got overlooked.
And I'm glad you brought it up. That comes down to voting. Judges. Supreme Court is dominated by 6 conservative judges, 3 of which were appointed by Donald Trump.
Okay. Did you guys just hear that? This dude just brought up the fact that the police, which I want you guys to understand this. The Biden-Harris administration there's almost been 4 years, has yet to do anything about police brutality, police murder, anything. They have not done a single thing about police. Now, we had a big issue in 2020 with the George Floyd uprisings about police, and they campaigned on that. They campaigned on police brutality. They campaigned on police oversight. They campaigned on handling the police and did absolutely nothing when they got in office. He's sitting up there talking about the police beat him up so bad. He was all bruised, his hands, his face, all of that stuff. And then he says, well, that's why voting is important. And then he talks about the Supreme Court being conservative, with 3 conservative Supreme Court justices being appointed by Donald Trump. What does that have to do with what he just said about the police? What does the Supreme Court, why that doesn't have anything to do with that? Why did he bring up they just completely skipped over what he just said and tried to make this false correlation between police brutality in the Supreme Court, as if the Supreme Court are the only ones who can do anything about police brutality. Biden and Harris said the big major part of their campaign was doing something about the police, because they rode on that. They rode on the death of George Floyd. They rode that in the Democratic Party, the whole Democratic Party rode that into the White House. And then when they got there, they said, okay, well, now y'all were saying defund the police. We're saying we need more funding for the police. They didn't say that when they were running. Biden said that during the State of the Union. He said, we're not going to defund the police. We're going to give the police more money, which is not what he was saying when he was running. So they have not done anything about the police. And then the second somebody brings up the police, you're talking about conservative Supreme Court justices, which are not tied to what he just expressed.
But it's like top to bottom.
Ridiculous.
Too, because like we got this like presidential election, and like, y'all heard of Project 2025? Like on police accountability, like the DOJ, right? And even like I said, voting rights, they protect everything. Like it's getting rid of the DOJ, like removing their independence to be able to like investigate. So we know
get rid of who?
The Department of Justice. But I'm saying they should not feel like, oh, well, I run the Department of Justice, so if the president breaks the law, I can't take Donald Trump to court, or I can't take Joe Biden to court.
You should be able to, right?
Yeah, you should be able to. But he wants to remove that independence.
No, we can't remove it.
Yeah.
No.
If Donald Trump becomes
Lord, first off, okay, and how many times have we talked about Project 2025? How many times have we? They gonna talk about Project 2025 all the way up until election day. They will never not talk about Project 2025. Okay.
President, he's going to be the closest thing to a dictator we ever seen. His whole goal, to me, it looked like for him to be the sole proprietor of everything, to say so, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. That's kind of scary, man. Project 2025 is crazy when you look into it.
I got a question though, because you spin a lot of facts and you know it. You just said Trump will be the closest thing to a dictator. That doesn't scare you enough to vote?
Well, not really, because that's why I'm here. I was open to.
That doesn't scare you enough. Listen to what that doesn't scare you enough to vote. Okay.
The thought. I'd rather not be a part than be a part. I'm not gonna lie. Me watching the debate, it was a great fight. I ain't gonna lie, gloves off. It was a great fight. I was leaning more towards her.
Let me ask the chat room a question real fast. In the chat room, when it came to the debate between Harris and Trump, do you all think that it was a great fight? Put the thumbs up if you guys think that it was a great major battle between Trump and Harris in the debate. Put a thumbs down if you think that debate was poor, that debate was staged, that debate was one-sided, and that debate didn't move the needle really for any of them. If you thought it was a quote great fight, put the thumbs up. If you thought that debate was terrible, put the thumbs down. I'm seeing Sister Denise, Lewis, AE. I'm seeing Carmen. I'm seeing a lot. Yeah, that debate was trash. That was a very biased, trash debate that didn't move the needle. Now listen to what he has to say about the debate. Now I want you guys to keep this in mind. This is the same person who earlier was all like, I don't trust Kamala. I don't trust if she didn't do a good job when it comes to the VP, how can I trust that she would do a good job when it comes to the presidency? He said that one small little kind of critical thing about her in the very beginning, and then next thing you know, all of them. There's not one opposing voice in this entire conversation. He said one thing, not even to criticize her, but just to question her capability. He slightly questioned her capability one time in the very beginning, and then next thing you know is ass kissing from everybody. Nobody's questioning her. I thought this was going to be one side being in opposition or one side not being sure, and then the other side's trying to convince them. It seemed like he says that one thing and then everybody just jumped on board. Come on.
She made me feel better. The things that she was killing him. She was doing him so bad to the point where I understood everything she said in clear English. And for real, Donald Trump is all about himself and his people. She give me the hope to think she made me feel like she's gonna fight for me right now. So I need that. You feel what I'm saying? I need that. I'm leaning more towards voting for her. It's also scary because I was always raised on kind of like a female will never be a president also.
Hold on. Look. Before we go there, he said during the debate, he feels like she beat him so bad and she feels like she was going to fight for us. He was only going to fight for himself. That's what he feels like. But you guys know, it always is going to come down to this. It will always come down to this right here. Now here comes the whole misogyny in the community conversation. Here comes the misogyny in the community conversation, because they have to express this because they are trying their hardest. Let's talk. Okay. Actually, let's break this down let's pause that for a second. We'll get back to it. Every single time we have a conversation about Harris, Trump, whatever, they understand that black people are not on the Democratic plantation anymore. They understand that. They know this. But they understand that it's mostly black men who are kind of getting off the Democratic plantation at a faster rate than black women. black men and black women, when you look at the data, and I'm going to show you some of this real quick. When you look at the data right here, black men and women have been leaving the Democratic Party at the same time. However, the rate that we've been leaving the Democratic Party has not been the same. That's the only difference. It's been the rate. Black men have been leaving at a larger rate, at a faster rate than black women, but black women have steadily been leaving the Democratic Party. All right. So they understand this. And their whole thing is to say, well, the Democratic Party, they can't admit that the Democratic Party is failing the community. So what they have to do is they have to orchestrate something where they are trying to, that's why they have this barbershop thing, because they're trying to orchestrate a thing where black people will confess to misogyny, because what they want to do is they want to say, well, the problem isn't the Democratic Party. The problem is the fact that there's a lot of hidden misogyny and sexism in the community, and black people don't want to, black men in particular, don't want to pick a woman because black men don't like women, black women don't love black women, black men don't believe that a black woman should tell them what to do and should tell them how to be and should lead the community. They keep trying to orchestrate this talking point because this is going to be their cushion for when they lose. And it always has been. It was the same way with Stacey Abrams. Black people asked Stacey Abrams what she had to say about reparations. She said no. She said she said no. And this wasn't even the first time. She said no on multiple occasions. She said no. And the black community said, you know what, we're not cool with that. We're not going to support you if you're not going to support our wishes. She lost. Next thing you know, it was a big bunch of panels and talking points talking about, is it really because she is a woman? And it's because black men just don't want to pick a black woman? Is it because of some type of hidden misogyny in the community? Is that the real reason? And we all know it's not the real reason. We know that it's not the real reason. But they will always say that. They will always and forever say that it is because of the fact that black people or black men are misogynists. So this is the whole thing of, well, growing up, I always thought that, well, I always was taught that a woman couldn't be president. Okay. So I want you to understand that this is orchestrated because they got to get this talking point out.
Always raised on kind of like a female will never be a president also.
I think people need to look past, no offense, but I think people need to look past this whole gender thing. I think black women are the backbones of our household.
For sure they is.
So if they can raise us, they should be able to lead.
If we look around this room, it was a woman who did a lot for us. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be who I am today.
If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't have had a pair of clippers to start this barbershop.
So you look at it, women can lead in the household. They can lead in the neighborhoods. Why can't they lead in the White House? They deserve that opportunity because if you look at it, some of the biggest decisions was at the feet of a woman when it came to us. So now let's give them a chance to sit right there.
Okay. Let me tell you one of the things that is not working. They're trying to associate black mothers in particular, not just black women, but black mothers with Kamala. That's not going to land anywhere because Kamala doesn't have any children. Kamala doesn't have young nieces and nephews. We've never seen Kamala with this motherly vibe. They keep trying to give Kamala this like motherly aura to her that she does not have. She doesn't have any children, any young cousins. We don't know her of this motherly woman. This is a career woman that they're trying to repaint and repicture as this motherly. Oh, our mothers have done this, and they want us to have the same type of emotional blindness when it comes to politics for Kamala, because they want us to see our mother with Kamala, but we don't, because number one, she's not black. That's number one. Number two, she's not a mother. So you're trying to create this black mother aura when she's not black and she's not a mother. Those are two it's never really going to hit that way. It's never going to hit because you're missing the two elements. First, being black, two, being a woman. I mean, well, she don't know what a woman is, but two, being a mother. Okay. And another thing, we don't have the whole a black woman raised us and a black woman raised us and all of this stuff. As true as that may be, much love to our mothers, much love to our grandmothers, our aunties, and the women in the community. What we're not going to do, and this is what a lot of black men, why it's not really hitting them and connecting and energizing them like they need it to, is because we have more than enough black men who are not just raised by their mothers, who are also raised by their fathers as well, who did not just they didn't have an absent relationship with their father at all. They knew their father. We have a lot of black men who knew their father, who knew their grandfather, who knew their uncles, who knew their older cousins, older brothers, black men in the community who also helped raise them as well too. So when they want to sit up there and give all of the credit to didn't a black woman raise you? Yeah, but a black man raised me too. So they want us to have this misandrous view where we look at black women as the type of deities, as we look at them as some type of gods in the community, where, well, it's a black woman, so we got to praise the black woman because we're all from single parent houses and our fathers were never in our lives, and we all have to bow down to the black woman because she's been the backbone of the community. But there's enough of us in real life who've also had their father in their life. What they're trying to hit, they're missing it because they can't get it. They don't know our community. They're missing it because all of us, believe it or not, let me get this completely off the screen because that's pretty much it. Believe it or not, all foundational black Americans, now hear me with this, all of us did not grow up without our father. Let's let that sink in. And this isn't to dismiss the work that our mother put in. This isn't to dismiss the hard work. This isn't to dismiss that. But all of us didn't grow up without our father. Even if our parents were divorced. Now, this is really going to blow your mind. Even if our parents were divorced, and they talk about we're raised in single family households. All single family households mean is that there is one adult in the house. There's one parent in the house, that the parents are not married. That is all that means, statistically speaking. That does not mean one parent is absent from the child's life. That's not what that means when you look at the definition of that. So even with people who are raised in the house with their mother, their father is still very active in their life. The CDC did a study some years ago saying that black American fathers are literally the most active fathers in comparison to all of the fathers in this country, as far as teaching the kid how to read, doing homework, teaching the kid how to ride a bike, taking the kid to school, from school, after school activities, eating with your kid, all of these things, potty training your kid, all of these things. From the age from a baby all the way to the child reaches adulthood. In every statistic, in every category, black American fathers outclass all of these other fathers. So the whole, we gotta understand that if it wasn't for a woman, you wouldn't be here. That's not really hitting, because we have enough black men who have a good relationship with their father to be all like, yeah, we're not going to be blinded by the whole, hey, didn't your mama raise you? So shouldn't you have this love for women? And shouldn't you have this misandrous view of black women? We don't. And this is why the whole misandrous black view that they keep trying to embed in black men does not work. It's not going to work. And it's not out of hate for black women at all. It's because black men, a lot of them, have been balanced enough to understand that, yeah, I appreciate my black mother, but I also had black male influence in my life. So I'm not going to look at my a black woman as if they're just the leaders of everything. because black men also had black men raising them, black men do have logic to understand that we should not have a blinded and emotional misandrous view of politics. That's why these things are never going to work. This barbershop thing, you're not going to hear about it after tonight because it's not going to move the needle. This is not moving the needle. And the constant talking about misandry and the constant talking about black, or do we got to get over this gender thing, is not going to work, because that's not the issue. The issue is that black men are logical. And you said somebody in the chat room, black men raised me, my mom and my dad. How many of you guys, let's just do a study. How many of you all in the chat room, I got to point this way, the things are switched. How many of you all in the chat room right now had your father be active in your life? How many of you had a black father be active in your life? Okay. Not only that, how many of you all, for the women, how many of you all have a child and their father, their black father, is active in their life? Because we're not going to keep doing this thing as if black fathers are not active in the lives of their children. Black fathers are abandoned in the lives of their children. And that, a lot of that comes from the Democratic Party. Yeah, raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand. Put the hand raised emoji in the chat room. We're not going to do that, where black fathers are this absent thing. This is what the Democrats and Republicans are doing this. But what the Democrats do and the Republicans do with this stereotype, because it is a stereotype, is different. What the Republican Party does with the absent black father stereotype is to say, well, this is the reason why you guys are degenerate. This is the reason why you guys commit all of these crimes, which statistically we don't. This is the reason why you guys get beat up by the police, is because you guys don't have fathers in your homes, and the fatherness is just completely gone. This is what the Republicans and the right wing talks about when they try to bash the community and the culture of the community, because they say we have a culture of fatherlessness. That's what the Republicans do. What the Democrat Party does is they'll say, well, you know, because the black fathers are gone, what we'll do is we'll ego stroke black women, single black women. And they put this false elevation of black women in misandry in the community, where they say, well, really the women should lead because the fathers and the dads, they're all gone. And black men don't really step up like that to raise their own children. And you're going to hear this again later on tonight. So they're going to say, well, because black men don't step up, black women have to do it. So they try to create this misandrist structure in the black community, only foundational black Americans, because they don't do this with the diaspora. They don't try to do this with Nigerian Americans. They don't try to do this with Jamaican Americans. They don't try to do this with any other black folk from the diaspora. Only foundational black Americans do the Democratic Party try to embed this misandrous structure in the community, because they understand that it would be a lot easier for them to mislead the women in the community. If the men are following the women, then all we got to do is emotionally pander to the women, and then they'll fall for the okie doke. And because they're leading, the men will fall for the okie doke. So that's why they keep trying to embed this whole thing of, well, didn't your mama raise you, and you wouldn't be nothing without your mama, so you got to love black women and just support them blindly because that's your mama. They keep trying to do this because they want us to follow the emotionality of women. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with black women or anything, but this is their tactic. But their tactic isn't working for a number of reasons, mostly because black fathers are actually very active in their children's life, number one. Number two, black women are not as gullible as they need them to be. So number one and two, black women are leaving the plantation. Black women are not gullible like that, not like they need them to be. Now let's look at this. Since we want to talk about misandry in the community, and we definitely going to talk about the whole Al Sharpton thing because he brings this up too. But look at this. This is some pastor. And we talked about this yesterday when it comes to the whole black church. This is why a lot of black people, younger black people, are leaving these big churches. And I'm not trying to diss Christianity or anybody's religion, but this is one of the reasons why the churches are failing.
You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Yeah. Full stop.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I got to know how to support a woman. Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister. It was a...
Notice, look at the jacket. Notice the jacket. Notice the jacket says AKA. Notice the jacket. She sent up there with an AKA jacket. That's the same sorority that Harris is in. Okay, just notice that.
Sister that raised you. It was a sister that taught you how to read. It was a sister that taught you how to bathe yourself.
In the context of the vice president.
And I'm going to be honest, this is why a lot of people are, men and women, are disconnected from the church, because the church, as well as the HBCUs, because she was wearing an HBCU varsity jacket. This is why these institutions, the church and the HBCUs, are losing grassroots black support and have no sway whatsoever, because we see you all are acting as vessels for white power, which is the Democratic Party. That's one side of it. You guys are acting as vessels for the dominant society to send messages through. This is why a lot of the pastors, not all, and I'm not trying to beat up on anybody's religion or the religion of Christianity, but I'm talking about the pastors in as an individual. This is why they don't have the respect that they used to have in the community. Even Dr. King was trying to warn them about this. You all will not have the respect because you guys are trying to go along with the dominant society, and you all are being used as vessels, and you're allowing the church to be used as vessels for the dominant society, so they can have influence in the community. The church is not an incubator of black empowerment. The church is an incubator now of the of Democratic agenda. Either Democratic agenda, and then some churches will be used for Republican agenda. But either way, that's the agenda of white power of the dominant society. This is why people are disconnected from that. Why pastors don't have the influence and the respect and reverence that they used to at one point in time in the community. Neither does the HBCUs. Neither do they. They don't have the respect. They don't have the reverence. They don't have the influence that they used to in the black community anymore. While he's sitting up there like something is wrong with brothers. Do you think brothers constantly want to go places where we hear everybody in their mama talk about something is wrong with black men? Everywhere you go, from Obama to the pastor at your church, is always something is wrong with black men. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? This lecturing and this beating down and this shaming because we don't want to get in line with the Democratic Party. Now, this lecture, just keep this in mind. This black woman that we got to support so strongly, he was not out there saying this in 2020 when she was running for the presidency. No, none of these black churches was all like, your mother raised you and she taught you how to read and she taught you how to live and bathe. None of them were saying that when she was running against Biden and lost. None of them were saying we got to support a black woman. None of that stuff was going on. Now, all of a sudden, she gets the top of the ticket, and now we got to see our mother. This is the whole mamala stuff. We got to see our mother and Kamala Harris. And this is what black folk just tuning this out. This is why it's not moving the needle.
You trying to send a message?
We've got to be able to vote that misogyny is still real in our community. We've got to address it head on and not act like it doesn't exist. The reality is, if black men had voted, Stacey Abrams would be a governor.
So you mean to tell me there's no other reason that black men wouldn't vote for Stacey Abrams except she's a female? Then black males just don't vote for black females. So the way they're making it seem, there's never been a black female in office. we've had black females all throughout. We've had black females who've been mayors, black females who've been senators, black females who've been other members of Congress. We've had black females who've been all in all different types of positions. So much so you had she's not black. I was about to say a black female who's been VP, but she's not black. So black males have voted for black females if the black female backs an agenda that is beneficial to the community. So we're not going to keep on with these lies. These are just blatant lies.
So I think that we've got to do some real redress, that after racism, the biggest ill in America is sexism. And I think it's part of the responsibility of this generation to deal with it head on.
Okay. And see, this is why this stuff is not working, y'all. This is why this stuff is not working. All this black female stuff, and we got it. No, it's not working. But that leads us to Al Sharpton in his interview with Harris. And like I keep saying, that they keep trying to force down that there is some type of misogynist agenda or this misogynist element that's factoring into the fact that she's not gaining a lot of black votes, that she's losing the black community is because of some type of misogyny. They keep trying to push that.
I remember 1972. I was 17, going on 18. I worked as youth director for Shirley Chisholm's campaign for president. And I was stunned that some of the backlash she got were from black elected male officials saying they didn't want to support a woman. They went with other candidates. I think it was George McGovern. And I hear these people talking about black men that are pulling away from your campaign, though I've not seen any real evidence of that. Do you think some of the resistance of some men, black and white, is misogynist? And are you proud to see that most Americans, even being polled, have no problem supporting a woman at all? And I'm one that lived from Shirley to Kamala in terms of these campaigns.
Now, before she answers that question, before she goes and answers that question, let me show you this. Let me show you the fact that he said that he's not seeing any evidence that black men are leaving the party. He has not seen any evidence whatsoever that Kamala Harris, whatever her name, he has not seen any evidence that she is having a black men issue, that black males are not support. He's not seeing that. Let me show you another stat. Okay. Now, all black voters, then you see black men, the likely voters of black men is about 70. And in that gray area, that's like a 10% gray area. That's undecided. And then 20% would go to Trump. And then black women would be 80, 83. And then you see the 12% right there. But now with these two pieces of data right here, I want you to keep this in mind. This is Al Sharpton saying he has not seen any evidence that Kamala has a problem with not just the black community, but especially black men.
I have an emotional reaction to you raising the point of Shirley Chisholm, because it is on her broad shoulders that I stand, and so many of us stand. And we have come a long way, to your point, and on your specific point about including the fact that I have the support of countless black men who are in elected positions, including just this afternoon and 2 church visits today with the mayor of Atlanta. That being said, I think that you are absolutely right, that there is this narrative about what kind of support we are receiving from black men that is just not panning out in reality, in terms of when I go to last night Atlanta and had, I think, 10,000 people at a rally. I will also say this, Rev.
Yeah,
I am very.
Hold on. 10,000 people. Well, everybody at her rally was not black men. So she said, yeah, I don't think that that thing is true, that the narrative is true about black men, because when I went to Atlanta, we had 10,000 people. Are all of those, is it 10,000 black men or 10,000 people, including women and white people and people of all races and ethnicities? So just catch, she says it real fast, but she says people. That's not black men. How many of the 10,000s of people, because you can have 10,000 people in a room and nobody be a black man. So how many of those 10,000 people she said was in her thing allegedly were they black men? And even if she had 10, let's say it was, come on, let's say it was only 10,000 black men. If it was only 10,000 black men, that doesn't negate the fact that she still has a black male issue. That doesn't negate the fact that black men are still pulling away from her in the Democratic Party. So she's saying this, and they're trying to come up with this. They're trying to save face as if, oh no, that's just rhetoric. That's just rhetoric. That's black men are on board. They keep trying to say that because they don't want to acknowledge. They're trying to say it without saying it. It's a very tricky thing. Let's break this down real quick. It's a very tricky thing because they're trying to say it without saying it. They're trying to speak to the issue without actually admitting the fact that they have an issue. That's why the view and everything, like, black men aren't the problem. The problem is not black men, because they don't want to admit the fact that black men in the community is largely disengaging. Because when you actually acknowledge the fact that black men are disengaging, then you're also going to have the real conversation about why. And when you have the real conversation about why, it opens up and it tells the secret, which is not really a secret, that black women are also disengaging from the Democratic Party too. So they don't really want to admit that, but they do have to try to combat the black men who are leaving and who are speaking against them. So that's why they keep trying to throw this misogynist out there, this misogyny word, sexism. You don't like black women. They keep trying to throw that out there, but they don't want to acknowledge the fact that black men are leaving. So they're in a rock and a hard place, having a very difficult time. This is why they're not moving the needle. The needle is not moving. But let's get back to the interview.
Clear, I must earn the vote of everyone, regardless of their race or gender. And what can be frustrating sometimes is to have journalists ask me this question as though one should assume that I would just be able to take for granted the vote of black men. I think that's actually an uninformed perspective, because why would black men be any different than any other demographic of voter? They expect that you earn their vote. And that is why
Now, I want you guys to notice something. I'm going to make it bigger for y'all. I'll ask the chat room. Let me ask the chat room. What do you guys know? Read the caption. What do you guys notice in this caption? I want to see who notices it. What do you guys notice in this particular caption, real quick? Just the caption. It says VP Harris courts black. Hold on. Who? Yes, exactly. Latino. So here they go with this black. They can't even talk about black without also bringing up Latino. VP Harris courts black Latino vote in final stretch of the 2024 campaign. So here they go with this black and Latino thing again. In this caption, they, like I said, they can't even do anything with black, just specifically. It's no black anything. They always will forever crowbar the Latinos involved. They will always do that. Just notice that. Now, Latinos are not her problem. Her problem is the black vote. But they're trying black and Latinos. This is why you're losing.
Talking and presenting my policies in a way that are, of course, for all Americans, but I will also speak about the specific impact that I can see it having on different demographics of voters.
Well, we're talking about black men, and let's talk about blacks in general.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, I've been on a nonpartisan tour at National Action Network and Central Park 5 and others. And one of the things that...
Now, he's been on a National Action Network with the Central Park 5. What happened with the Central Park 5 was egregious. What happened with the Central Park 5 was horrendous. What happened with the Central Park 5 was absolutely terrible. Now, what's interesting is that Al Sharpton uses the Central Park 5. He uses the Central Park 5 as a way to attack Donald Trump, because Donald Trump had took that full page ad out to pretty much advocate for the death penalty for the Central Park 5. So he's hated Donald Trump ever since, if you let him tell it. But we found some stuff about it. This is Al Sharpton. This is when Al Sharpton was, fat. when Al Sharpton was fat. This is Al Sharpton and Donald Trump in the early 2000s. This is before he, did his lipo thing and lost all that weight. This is Al Sharpton and Donald Trump in 2002. 6 or 2. And then, look, this is another one. Oh, I'm sorry. This one was the one in 2002. Yep, this is that one. Look at this one again. This is Al Sharpton. And you see Jesse Jackson and Donald Trump. Now, I want you to keep this in mind. This is about a good decade or two after the Central Park 5 thing. A lot of they've been exonerated and everything by this time. But Donald Trump wasn't a politician at this time. So because Donald Trump wasn't a politician, they didn't have an issue with the full page ad. And I want you to keep this in mind. I have a issue with the full page ad. One of the first videos I've ever made about politics and Donald Trump was me stating and reading the full page ad and stating I have an issue with that. And I also have an issue with the fact that he, even though they've been proven innocent, has still never apologized for that ad. Oh my God. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know why somebody would call me at this time knowing I'm alive. Anyway, look at this full page ad. Now, when you talk about the Central Park 5 and you talk about the injustices from the Central Park 5, you also got to talk about the fact that all of the people who were Democrats, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, all of them, they didn't have an issue with what Donald Trump did. Not up until he became a Republican and started running for president. Now, all of a sudden, the Central Park 5 and what Donald Trump did with the Central Park 5, now all of a sudden that's a really, really big problem. Now, I still feel like it's a problem, but the thing is that they didn't feel like it was a problem. Al Sharpton, this is decades later. He's all buddy, all hugged up, laughing, joking. This isn't just a business thing. He's smiling. I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this. Al Sharpton's smiling harder than Donald Trump is. Al Sharpton is happy to see Donald Trump. Al Sharpton is happy to see his buddy Donald Trump. Come on now, let's not lie about it. We ain't gonna lie about it. He's been happy. And this was well after the Central Park 5. So if we're gonna hold him accountable for the Central Park 5, Al Sharpton, why weren't you holding him accountable for the Central Park 5 before he ran for president? See, this is now I'm getting the fact that the Central Park 5, are you using the Central Park 5 for some type of political gain? Are you using the grievance that the Democratic Party allowed with the Central Park 5 just to help you out and give you a political boost? Because to be very honest with you, we don't hear nothing about the Central Park 5 until it's election season from Al Sharpton, who's a big advocate of justice for the Central Park 5. How often do you hear Al Sharpton bring up the Central Park 5 when it's not election season? When it's election season, he's always bringing up the Central Park 5. When it's not election season, you don't hear nothing about the Central Park 5. Because he doesn't care. Al Sharpton, let me tell you, does not care about the Central Park 5. He does not. He uses the Central Park 5 so he can attack Trump specifically, as if Trump was the only one in the case of the Central Park 5. That's it. Besides that, him nor any of the Democrats care about the Central Park 5 or anybody who was wrongly incarcerated at all. If he did, he would be more upset with Biden, Clinton, and Harris with the amount of people that they locked up. They were aggressive prosecutors. They signed crime bills. They put all of that stuff into law to disproportionately lock black people up. So now Al Sharpton is going to sit here and talk to Harris as if Donald Trump is the person who's responsible for black people being wrongfully incarcerated. So Donald, and I'm not sitting up there defending Donald Trump. Keep this in mind. I'm just saying, let's keep the same energy Because if you are against injustice in the justice system, if you are against that, if you are against the disproportionate amount of Black Americans who are wrongfully incarcerated, you can't sit up there and be buddy-buddy with the Democratic Party and then fault the Republican Party as if the Democratic Party is not only just as much to blame, but more so to blame for the wrongful incarceration of Black men. You can't do that. He's being very disingenuous when he does that. So I can't stand when he brings up the Central Park Five, knowing that he does not care about them at all and is only using them for some type of political clout. But before we go, let me get to the super chat from our good brother Tell It Like It Is. He says, Biden and Harris forced Americans to take the jab. That is true. And broke the piggy bank for non-citizens and proxy wars against the taxpayers. Will pay against the taxpayers' will, and and censorship is rampant. That is very true. Seems like Project 2025 has started. Yeah. And it seems like if you're going to do apples to apples comparison, it seems like the Democratic Party, I'm glad he brought that point up. It seems like the Democratic Party is the one enforcing a Project 2025. And we're going to be very honest. Taking away our choice, taking away our bodily autonomy, taking away our voice, taking away the constitutions, the right to the constitutions. That seemed like that's more on the Democratic side. If we're going to be honest and compare apples to apples, come on. Thank you very much for that. That was a very good point. Let's continue with this sad interview.
At reporters asked, and we don't get it from the audiences, what about the Kamala the cop? And I said, well, I knew her as DA.
Right.
You and I go with that. She was one that wanted.
Now, hold on. And I know I just paused it, but we got to break this down because I sped it up. So it's going to go a little fast. Remember when I said, anytime they bring up her record, they will only bring it up in the context of marijuana. They will anytime they bring up her record as DA or Attorney General, they will only specifically talk about marijuana. They want to keep it confined to the conversation of marijuana. They will never bring up the Black people, the Black men, the same Black men that he's fighting for, the same Central Park Five and all that, those type of Black men, those Black men that she kept in prison so they can be used for slave labor as forest fire against their will to put out forest fires in California. They will never bring that up. They're not going to bring up Jamal Truelove, all of the Black men that she kept evidence. She withheld evidence from Black men that would exonerate Black men, and there's been a bunch of documents proving that. This was also said during the debate, which she never denied. We were also going to have to bring up the Black mothers that she locked up with her truancy policies that she bragged about. When we talk about her record as a DA and an Attorney General, they never bring these things up. They're only going to talk about weed. When we talk about her record as a DA and Attorney General, is at the bottom of our list. That's the last we are concerned about. We're concerned about all these other things. But the thing is they know that weed is the lightest thing, and it's the thing that they can make it seem as if we're tripping on. So they only want to keep it confined to the conversation of weed.
People with marijuana arrest not to go to jail.
Exactly.
And the Attorney General wasn't even under your purview. I mean, do you think that this is orchestrated, that they're trying to find some way to separate you from some elements? Because you used to be attacked for being too progressive as a district attorney.
I know. You know what? Here's the thing, Rev. We are, as of today, Sunday, 16 days away from the election for President of the United States, and there are all sorts of people who are going to throw a bunch of things out that will include mis and disinformation with the intention to dissuade certain people from voting. And that's not new. And so that is why I'm spending time in all communities to make sure that they hear directly from me so they can judge for themselves in a way that is unfiltered. And I'm going to continue doing that. I am leaving nothing on the field in this election. I'm leaving nothing on the field. So I sit with you this afternoon after visiting 2 churches today, this Sunday morning. Yesterday I was in Michigan. Tomorrow I'll be in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And I'm leaving nothing on the field.
black voters important, but Georgia's important.
Yes.
Wisconsin's important.
Yes.
And how do you, as you go, dealing with your economic message? I know a lot of people that call my radio show that says, well, what happens, how does this impact my pocket?
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean, Reverend Al, with inflation reduction. I don't know what infrastructure means.
Right.
Share with our viewers on what has impacted them and what a President Harris will do that understands what needs to go in their pocket, not the Beltway language.
Before she answers this question, a lot of them will say, I have a call-in show or whatever the case is, and people call in. Now, let's be very honest. You will always have people who are new to politics, who call in, who ask questions that you might think, as someone who's politically educated, is a very simple question, is a question that they can Google, but some people don't know. But I honestly do not believe Al Sharpton is telling the truth when he says people are calling in and they all like, I don't know what inflation reduction means. Can you explain to me what inflation reduction means? It means to reduce inflation. It's a policy that reduces inflation. I don't think that he had, I don't think, come on now.
So it's a very legitimate
and then look at what she has to say with that.
An important question the voters asked that we should respond to on the affirmative without waiting for the question. So, for example, how will it affect individuals? Part of my plan is to expand the child tax credit to $6,000, and in particular to target young parents in the first year of their child's life to make sure they have the resources to buy a crib or a car seat or clothes, because, you know, we know that the vast majority of our parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources, especially when you also recognize that we did this, which is expand the child tax credit for less than I'm proposing now. But when we did, we reduced childhood poverty in America by 50%, black childhood poverty reduced by half. Part of my plan is to deal with the home health care of seniors. And I tell a personal story. I often go off script to tell a personal story. When my mother was sick, as it turned out she was dying from cancer, I took care of her. And to take care of an elder relative means to try and cook something they feel like eating or can eat. It means trying to...
Now, before, because she always talks about her personal story, before we even go into that, talked about inflation and all that. She doesn't talk about that. She goes in to talk about the same train talking points that she always discusses. It's the same train talking points that she always is told to talk about. Anytime they talk about the economy, anytime they're talking about inflation, she's trained to talk about some child tax credit. All right. They said that they removed, now this is less than the child tax credit is less than what she's offering now, but let's say what she's offering now is something in place. You removed black child poverty by 50% with a child tax credit. Okay. And it's less than what you're saying now, which is $6,000 for the first year. So let's just do a little bit of math. Let's do a little bit of math real quick, okay? I'm not a math whiz like that, and I'm not going to sit up there and bore you all with math. But let's do a little bit of math. You mean to tell me that black children are in poverty because with the first year of their life, they need $6,000 extra. So their parents or guardians need $6,000 extra dollars. So you mean to tell me that with $6,000, the black children who are in poverty are only in poverty because of $6,000. They're only $6,000 and they will be out of poverty for the first year. It's only for the first year. So in that very first year, that's where everything is expensive, and then everything becomes cheaper to take care of a child after the first year. Don't you understand? So the reason why there is child poverty is because for the first year, they need a $6,000 tax credit for the first year. Okay. All right. All right, then. That's the train talking point, which for people who don't have children, I don't know what that's supposed to do. Okay.
Put clothes on them or give them clothes that don't irritate their skin, to help them put on a sweater. It means trying to figure out a way to just bring a smile to their face from time to time, to say something that might make them laugh. It's about dignity. And far too many people who are taking care of elder relatives are struggling, because to do that means often they may have to leave their job, which means they're going to reduce their income, or they have to pay down their savings to qualify for Medicaid. So my plan is to recognize this is about dignity and to say that should not have to happen in order for you to have help to take care of an elder. We're going to have Medicare cover it. And I think about this issue also in the context of people who are in the sandwich generation. And that's what we call people who are taking care of their young kids and their parents.
Wow.
And shouldn't have to think about leaving their job or losing all of their savings in order to apply for Medicaid. These are examples. I talk about what I intend to build, which is an opportunity economy.
Is Medicaid the reason why we have inflation? No. When he brings up inflation, and this is why these interviews don't do anything to move the needle, is because unlike really Fox, which has been really the only one, when she gets there and she starts babbling with these trained talking points, the other side of the person doing the interview, whether that's Charlemagne, whether that's Roland Martin, whether that's Al Sharpton, whether that's whoever, they don't give her any type of pushback. There's no fact checking. There's no asking the question again. There's no clarification. This is why these interviews are not helping. When she did that with Oprah, this is why these things are not helping, because she doesn't speak well. Very honest. Let's be honest. She does not speak well. And she gets to babbling. She has these trained talking points to where anytime you hear the word inflation, talk about a child tax credit, talk about the fact that you lower prescription drugs, talk about all the that's pretty much it. Child tax credit and you lowering prescription drugs, talk about those things. When anytime they talk about immigration, go to the point where you talk about the bipartisan bill that Donald Trump killed. When you talk about these things, go to your trained talking points. Okay, she repeats them, she regurgitates her talking points like a robot. Like a robot is programmed to say certain things. If you press a button, when you press that button, only those things are going to come out of the robot's mouth, because that's how the robot is programmed. This is how Kamala is programmed. When you press a button, she's going to say a certain thing. She's going to blame Trump for the border. She's going to talk about child tax credit, abortion. She's going to talk about what's that other thing called? Medicare. She's going to talk about prescription drugs. It's a program talking point that she's going to say every single time. And this is why she's not moving the needle, because the American people want to know more than what she's programmed to say. She's safeguarded. They tell her, do not say anything outside of what we told you to say. And everybody's asking her all of these questions, and she keeps trying to find a way to bring it back to the talking points. And this is why when she does the interviews with Fox, she gets completely obliterated and destroyed, because the interviewer is not going to sit there and just let her babble about these ridiculous talking points. There are going to be follow-up questions. There's going to be fact-checking. Anywhere she goes where there's fact-checking or any type of follow-up question at all, or any scrutiny to her record or her answers, she completely crumbles. She falls apart. She crumbles and falls. She folds like a folding chair. She folds like hot laundry. Now, when she's with Al Sharpton, who's going to sit up there and kiss her ass like he's doing, Roland Martin kiss her ass like he's doing, Charlemagne kiss her ass like he did, all of these people are going to do that. Yeah, they're going to let her sit up there and babble, and then they're going to nod their head and say that's a great answer. But to the people who are actually wondering, to the people who are critical thinkers, it doesn't move the needle. This is why she's getting worse in the polls, because these interviews are hurting her campaign. She shouldn't be doing them. She should stop doing it, but she won't, because her rallies aren't really moving anything. So she's trying to do this, but this isn't moving anything, because you're trying to stay in these controlled, safe environment surrounded by a bunch of yes men, but everybody can tell, okay, well, that's a yes man. So I can't really get my answer the way I need it. So it's not helping. It's actually hurting. But at this point, there's nothing she can do. She's tried everything else. Is nothing she can do.
Which in large part understands the vast majority of Americans have ambition, aspirations, they have an incredible work ethic, they have dreams, but not necessarily access to the resources that allow them the opportunity to achieve their goals. Unlike my opponent, who thinks about the world differently, I think informed in large part by the way he...
Now, what I tell you about the buttons, you press a button on the robot's head, and the robot is going to say what the robot is programmed to say. How much do you all want to bet she's going to bring up $400 million that Trump was handed on a silver platter, and then he had to file bankruptcy 6 times. I can literally repeat that because she says it in every interview. She says it at every rally. She says it all of the time like a programmed robot. How much you guys want to bet she's going to say that? Let's find out.
Experienced life, having been served $400 million on a virtual silver platter, which he then filed bankruptcy 6 times. My opponent, when he thinks about
what did I tell that? Because she's a robot. She is a robot who was trained and programmed to say that. What did I tell? How much is she going to say? Anytime you say that, because the whole talking point is we have work and we have ambition and we have this and we have that, unlike my opponent. And every time I hear unlike my opponent, I know what she's going to say. I know the rest of the sentence. I know it. $400 million on a silver platter, and he had to file bankruptcy 6 times. She says it all of the time. I already knew she was going to say that.
tax policy is about cutting taxes for the richest among us, billionaires and the biggest corporations, who can afford, by the way, to pay their fair share. His plan for what I call a Trump sales tax would be at least a 20% tax on everyday necessities, which economists have estimated the average American will pay $4,000 more a year. So when asked this question about how will this affect my life in terms of a voter worrying about the fact that, look, price of groceries is still too high. I get it, they get it. And what are we doing to help them actually get through life in a way that they're not just getting by, but getting ahead? We have to have specific policies that do that. And that is what I offer under what I call an opportunity economy approach. But Donald Trump is offering something very different, including what he's talking about in Project 2025. And I'll tell you, from the biggest rallies I do to church services, people know what's in Project 2025. Right. They know that it would allow corporations to basically stop protecting the right of workers to have overtime pay. What it would do to take away the independence of the Department of Justice.
You know what? I like the page you guys are on. Can we put the robot emojis in the chat room for all of the trained and scripted and programmed answers that she gives and talking points that she gives every single time she hears the word inflation, every time she hears the word economy, every time she hears the word immigration, every time she hears those words is boop, trained talking point. Got to talk about my trained talking point. Can we get some robot emojis in the chat room? Thank you. And then here she goes talking about this stuff. Project 2025, which is another trained talking point. It's another, she brings it up all the time. Project 2025, another trained talking point.
And as we know, he intends to use it to attack his political enemies. People are very concerned by what Project 2025 would do, which is to get rid of public servants who have dedicated their lives to doing public service and instead putting loyalists in these various agencies so that he can have them bend to his will instead of do the work that is in the public trust.
Last question. I'll go back to where we started with Shirley Chisholm. Mm-hmm. Today's your birthday.
Yes.
And we all reflect on our birthdays, what our life would mean. You called me on my birthday. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.
Ass kissing, ass kissing, ass kissing. You called me on my birthday. Thanks again. Kissing ass. This is why nobody respects Al Sharpton.
What do you want 50 years from now, history to say about Kamala Harris?
I hope that, and I really do work, that my life will have proven to have been a life that is about fighting for the people, fighting for the dignity of people, work that has impact in a way that uplifts the people, all people. I do hope that's what history will say.
It won't.
Some little girl or little boy is going to be talking about you like you talked about Miss C.
And nobody's going to be talking about Kamala Harris like they talk about Shirley. No. It's not working, y'all. That's not working. But they will shame this stuff. Like I keep saying, the reason why this is not moving the needle is, now for me, there is nothing that she can do that is going to convince me to vote for her at all. Nothing. My mind has been made up. I've already told you guys, I've been saying this for years. Y'all know, and y'all know when I tap this, y'all know what this means. Y'all know what my stance is, and my stance ain't changed, okay? I said I had a price for my vote. I can respect other people's decisions. I said I have a price for my vote. and you ain't meeting the price, and you ain't meeting the price, so I'm just gonna have to sit on the couch. I'm just gonna have to pick the couch. I've been made that abundantly clear. So my thing is abundantly clear. But I wanted to be, want you to put yourself in the position of people who might vote for her, who like, you know what, I might vote for her, but I might not vote for her. The people who are undecided. Now I'm very decided. I'm very, very decided. But for the people who are undecided, if they look at this and all they see is the same exact talking points, people have real issues out here. People have real problems out here. And they see the same exact talking points again and again and again. You talk about the border, which was her responsibility. She talks about this bipartisan bill. You talk about inflation, which was her and Biden's, well, both of them was her and Biden's responsibility. And then next thing you know, she's talking about a child tax credit. She's talking about prescription drugs as if the only thing that we have to pay for is a child for the first year and in prescription drugs. And then she talks about, yeah, food is too high, gas is too high, never talks about the reasons why food is too high and gas is too high, and then does not talk about a solution that makes sense about how she's going to bring those things down. She doesn't discuss that. She says she will admit that food is too high and gas is too high, and then she does not discuss that any further. She does not go into details about, first off, why, because you can't fix it unless you know why, and then she does not also talk about what she plans to do. A child tax credit is not going to bring down inflation and is not going to help people pay their food, their rent, there's not going to help. Prescription drugs being lowered is not going to help that stuff. So her trained talking point to a person who's undecided is not going to make them think like, you know what, actually, I am going to pick her. I do choose her. The Project 2025 thing, I was the first one to be on YouTube to be all like, Project 2025 is a hoax. Everybody else started saying it after me, but it's okay. But I was the first one to be like, Project 2025 is fake. It's a hoax. It's not real. And they keep on trying to say it. But the thing is that most people do not fear Project 2025 because we understand Trump isn't pushing Project 2025. And as our brother Tell It Like It Is just said in the super chat, it's mainly the Democratic Party, the ones who are pushing Project 2025. If you have an apples to apples comparison, it's the Democratic Party who is more in line with the agendas that are in Project 2025 than Trump is now or was when he was president. So it's not really scaring people. That's not moving the needle either. So a lot of people are getting very upset because the polls are looking really bad. So of course they got the Shea Butter crowd. The Shea Butter crowd is looking real upset and they blaming black men. Look at this, y'all. Here we go.
The way that black men are about to be the weakest link. Remember when it was 52% of white women voted for Trump? It's about to be black men. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for black men not wanting a black woman in power. Black men talking about I don't want no black woman telling me what to do. Okay, but wasn't you raised by a black woman? Why are you scared of black women telling you what to do all of a sudden? Don't you live with your mama still? Oh, sorry, you live with your grandma. Don't your baby mom raise your kids? Don't your baby mom pay your bills? Don't your baby mom give you a car to drive? What's going on here? Don't you and your baby mom live with your mom? Talking about a black woman can't run that. What are you talking about? Black women are historically the backbone of society. Okay, hold on. Let me get that off screen. I don't know what that is. Hold on. Oh, that was the next video. See, and I'm gonna say this too. This is also hurting. If her campaign was smart, they would send a message out there. They would send a message letting people know, don't do this. That's dumb. You're trying to energize and motivate and encourage people to be on your page. Sitting up there wagging your finger talking about black men are about to be the weakest link, and black men, first off, who are saying, I don't want a black woman to tell me what to do. I don't know where you're hearing black men saying that as far as Harris, who is not a black woman, is concerned, and then use the whole shaming thing. Well, don't you live with your mama and don't your baby mama pay your bills? Well, actually, ma'am, no. There's not enough bummy black men whose baby mama has to pay their bills
in their mama's house for you to shame, to encourage it. There's a lot of black men who get their stuff together, who don't live with their mama, who don't sit up there and have to live under her roof, who don't sit up there and have to live under their baby mama's roof, who don't sit up there and have to have a woman, their mama, their baby mama, or their grandma pay their bills. All right? There's a lot of black men who are not in that position where you sit up there trying to shame and scold black men. That is not working. That's actually working against, is not only not working for you, is working on the opposite side, is making people turn away from the Democratic Party, because we know you're sending us a reminder of this is what comes with the Democratic Party. We're seeing a reminder. Now, the pro-Trump side isn't saying that about black men. It's only the pro-Kamala side saying that about black men. Look at this one. This one is even worse.
A lot.
Y'all peep the ring, peep the ring. We got to say it, because somebody going to say it in the chat room. We got to say it.
A lot of black men are so fucking disappointing. I've been reading the comments under my Kamala post about the policy she's implementing for black men when it comes to their health, when it comes to them having businesses, when it comes to them getting their records expunged for having, trees. When it comes to them maybe investing in having tree businesses, everything that y'all have been asking Congress for, she's actually put policies out saying that if she wins the election and we become the majority in the House and the Congress, she would implement those policies for y'all. And all majority of y'all did was shit on them. And I've come to the conclusion, those.
Now, when she says policies for y'all, I want you to understand, for the people who might have missed it, earlier in the live, her campaign has already confessed that those policies are not specific for black men. But here this septum ring woman is going to sit up there and frame it as if they are.
Black men just hate black women. I figured it out. It doesn't matter what we do for y'all, y'all still gonna hate us. Y'all have some hate against your mother. Y'all have hate against the woman that left you. Y'all got hate against the woman that put you on child support because you are not a part of that child's life. Y'all generally hate black women. And y'all would hate to see a black woman running the show. Y'all didn't give a shit about Obama policies because Obama was a black man. But now that it's a black woman, it's a big problem. It doesn't matter what she does. She's still not going to get y'all votes. So I'm going to stop talking to y'all asses. Because your hate for black women will put you 6 feet under.
Now listen to this. This is why it's worse. This is why it gets worse. Because then look at the hatred for black men that starts coming out. Notice when we don't get on the page of, we're not sitting up there and looking at black women with this misandrous view. Not to say we don't love black women, but we love them properly. There's a love that you can have for people that is proper, and then there's a love for people that you can have that is not proper. There's a right way to love black women as black men, and then there is a wrong way to love black women as black men. They want us to love black women as if black women are all our mothers. We don't love all black women like they're all our mothers, and nor should we. Okay, that does not mean we don't love black women, but we're not going to view them like they're our mama. But because there's a right way to love, and for black women, there's a right way to love black women, and then there's a wrong way. They want us to do it the wrong way, and we're not going for that. But now listen to the second one. We don't get on their page and we don't start complying. Listen to the hatred of black men and the desire to see us suffer. Listen to that start to come out.
Trump plans on giving police officers immunity, which means y'all are going to be enemy number one. I'm gonna make this very fucking clear. Ain't nobody finna be marching for y'all anymore. We're not gonna be in the streets. They got immunity. You ain't finna take me out, and that'll be all because of y'all. I figure the only reason y'all following Trump is to put black women in some type of place, because y'all know he has policies specifically for women. No fault divorce. You can't divorce your husband if you're pregnant. J.D. Vance, women should not be able to vote. The national abort ban, and it's going to soon turn into women should not be able to work, which will put black men on top and will force black women to have to deal with them no matter if they're good people or not. I get it. Black men.
Now, J.D. Vance ain't the sharpest tool in the box. I've never heard him say, though, that women shouldn't vote. Now, I've never heard him say that. Okay. And I can sincerely tell you, I do not believe at all that Trump or anybody in the Democrat or the Republican Party wants women not to work at all, wants to make it illegal for women to work. I don't think that's any, I don't even think that's in Project 2025. So I don't know what, I mean, she just coming up with stuff off the dome at this point.
A lot of y'all, not all of y'all, a lot of y'all feel like y'all don't have to do shit, and y'all shouldn't have to do shit for a black woman to respect you, because nowadays we don't need y'all. We have to have a want for y'all. But when women didn't have any rights, we had no choice to deal with y'all because it was the only way we could survive. And I get that. A lot of black men don't want to put any effort. Y'all don't want to go to therapy. Y'all don't want to advance yourselves. Y'all don't want to get an education. Y'all feel like y'all should not have to be better than what y'all are. We should just accept y'all as y'all are. And Trump will give y'all some form of that. But he also gonna put your ass back in Jim Crow.
Listen. Trump gonna put our ass back in Jim Crow. Back in Jim Crow. All right.
So be prepared. And pray to God that even if you don't vote for Kamala, she wins. Because if she doesn't, y'all gonna be enemy number one.
We gonna be enemy number one. Trump gonna put us back in Jim Crow. Now, you got some women that I don't know her lineage. A lot of people saying she looked like a tether, and she kind of do with at least the septum ring. That's more than enough for me to have a warning. That's more than a big enough red flag for me. But a lot of people are saying, well, black women are on the page of Kamala. Black women are on that page. I'm gonna tell you this. When you actually look deeply into it, when you look at the data, and you see that the Republicans or the Democrats are steadily losing black support from 2016, 2020, 2024. When you look at the actual statistics, you see that black women are leaving the Democratic Party. When you look at this, you see that black women are as well leaving the Democratic Party. So I want to let you guys know that that's a fact too. Black women are not sitting up there on this page. As a matter of fact, I got some videos that's actually going to disprove what she's saying. Because like I keep saying, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it seem as the only reason, and this is a talking point that they've been trained. They got this email to make it seem like, okay, if you're going to make a video, make sure you say this. They make it seem like the only reason why a black man doesn't want to vote for Kamala is because of the fact that we just hate black women and we don't love our moms. That's the only reason. But you got enough black women out here, and this is y'all biggest problem. Y'all got enough black women out here who's actually pushing back against Kamala and is not on that page. Look at this.
Did y'all see the interview that Kamala had with Bret Baier? I think that was like 2 days ago. When I tell y'all that man ate her alive, I mean, here's the thing. In my opinion, it's like you're a prosecutor. And it seems like she was never a prosecutor. Like in order to be a prosecutor, you have to be smart. You got to be quick-witted, quick on your feet. You got to be able to come up with some stuff. You got to be able to lie at the drop of a dime. And with her, it's just like poof, like it was never like, huh? When I tell you he backed her into a corner so bad, all she could do was Trump, but Trump, Trump this, Trump that, Trump. Homegirl was in a panic, as she should be. I don't understand why the Democratic Party is still putting her out there. Like, girl, go into the abyss and just disappear until the election, because we already know it's over. You're done. And I feel like this interview was like a nail in the coffin at this point.
I'm going to say something. I think that this sister is representative of what most black women think about Kamala Harris. I'm going to be most FBA women. I'm going to be very honest. I think that what she says, and there's another video I'm going to play after this, I think that what she's saying is representative. I haven't seen a foundational black American woman say that she did well with that. I have not seen a single one. I ain't seen, not only did she not do well, I didn't see that she did okay. I haven't seen a single foundational black American woman say that she did okay in that Fox interview. I haven't seen them say, to be honest, she's done okay with any of her interviews. She hasn't done okay with any of her interviews. And I ain't seen one. The only women that because we don't know what they identify as, so let's just be respectful when I say women. The only women we see get out there is they get out there and they just yell. They use a bunch of profanity. They start snapping, which, I mean, if that's your style, but look at who they're cursing at. They're cursing at their own community, if they are in this community. They're cursing at other black folks. They're just mad. I'm going to be honest. The angry black woman stereotype, that's the Kamala supporter. The people who are actually not the angry black women, those are the women who are not for her. Those are these type of women right here. Those are you who are listening right now. Those are you in the chat room and the ones who will be playing this back on the playback, on the rewatch. That's you. The other women who are sitting up there like, oh yeah, he's going to put your ass back in Jim Crow and what's wrong with y'all? Yo, baby mama pay y'all. Those very ghetto and negative and nasty and demeaning women. That's the average black Harris supporter. That's them. The ones who like enjoy watching people suffer. The average Harris supporter, I believe they like to like watch animals be in pain. They'll like burn a cat or something like that. That's like the psychology of the average Harris supporter when it comes to the women. Now, when it comes to the men, they don't like to watch cats burn. They don't like to watch any animal burn. They don't like to watch any pain. They don't like pain at all. They are very, very soft, very sensitive. These are the men who will try to find a way to reword a purse and say it's not a purse, it's a man bag. The average man, the black man Harris supporter, those are the ones carrying around purses saying that they're not purses. These are just very fashionable man bags. These are just duffel bags that really look like purses. Okay, these are very small handheld duffel bags. Okay, those are the purse owning black men who are saying it's not feminine to have a purse. I just have a lot of stuff and my pockets can't fit all of the things that I have, so I have to have this man handbag. Those are the black Harris supporters on the men's side. And on the women's side, those are the people who like to watch horror movies on Christmas. And then we have black women who are intelligent and sophisticated and classy and all that, and they don't vote for her. And then let's finish listening what the sister has to say.
Done. You're done. And I feel like this interview was like a nail in the coffin at this point. I mean, this man asked her direct questions, and she literally just acted like he ain't just asked them questions like, but Trump is running. Girl, what are you talking about? That ain't got nothing to do with what he just asked you. But you know what? We are winning small victories, y'all. If y'all have not noticed, I'm telling y'all, the prayers of the righteous availeth much. We are flipping it. We are turning things around. A lot of these things in these agendas are falling. If y'all notice, every single thing that the FEMA, okay, now they up there whooping the FEMA people. The storm went from a category 5 or above, because it only goes up to 5, down to a 3. We got the Diddy and the trafficking stuff that has been cracked wide open. Epstein cracked wide open. So a lot of these rings are being closed. They're being shut down. We have this situation with Kamala and all the stuff that she talking about, and it's just getting shut down. The CPS thing, the CPS stuff that's coming out, hopefully they getting shut down and revealed. The fact that the humanitarian bill that would continue to protect the illegal immigrants that are here, that didn't get renewed. That's getting shut down. So now they're going to have to go back eventually. I mean, there's so many small victories that we have been winning, and it's because of the prayers. Y'all, keep going. Keep doing it. I am telling you, it's working. A lot of these agendas with abortion, a lot of these agendas with the LGBTQ being able to play in women's sports. Yeah, there's some, but a lot of that's been overturned. See, we give way too much credit to the enemy, to the devil, that whatever we're hearing and that, oh, this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. It may happen. But a lot of that stuff doesn't have to happen. But we have to take action. We have the power with our mouth. We have the power, y'all. We give too much credit. We give too much credit. We gotta speak it, believe it.
That's true. Then I gotta play this one. I gotta show y'all this sister. This one of my favorites. Hold on. Here we go.
This man.
Hold on. Are y'all saying Merce? Hold on. What are y'all too dead? It says it's not a purse. It identifies as a Merce. Y'all just gonna be petty today. I love it. It's a man purse. It's a Merce. I love the pettiness. See, this is what I love. This is our culture. This is what I love. The pettiness. But listen to this one. Now she goes off.
Race. Because the questions that he asked Kamala yesterday were all questions that we were just waiting for somebody to ask her. Now, I'm going to share my favorite moment of this interview with y'all, where it just goes to show, like, anybody who is voting for this clown deserves to be condemned.
Before we go, I want you to look at this. I want you to notice this. These women are young women. These are not old women. So you have women, the older woman who looked like a little bit older. She looked not old, but she looked older than this one. She looks like maybe in her like teens or something, like 20s or something like that. The other one looked older than that. I don't know their age at all. She looked older than this one. Notice that these are younger women. And then we have women who are older. We have women from every demographic calling her out. And the women who actually call out Kamala in the Democratic Party, do they not sound more articulate? Do they not sound more well-read? Do they not sound more knowledgeable about the subject that they're discussing? The women who are for Harris, I just want you to have this objective view of both women. The women who are for her and the women who are not for her. Notice that the women who are for her are more articulate, not just classy, not just the way they carry themselves, but just the way they articulate the issues. They're far more articulate. They're far more knowledgeable about the problem. They're far more well-read, and they can actually engage in a thoughtful conversation. The women who are for Harris, notice that it seems like they don't know what they're talking about. It seems like somebody said, here's $500. I need you to argue with him about Kamala Harris. They never make a point outside of misandry. They never make a point outside of sexism. They never make a point outside of you guys just hate black. They never make a point. They act like they don't know what they're talking about. They can't defend her record. They can't excuse her terrible interviews. They can't excuse her washed up talking points. They can't make any excuse. They act like they don't know why inflation happened. They act like they don't know about the immigration crisis. They act like they don't know, and they probably might not. They don't know anything. I just want you to look at both of the women and notice the night and day comparison. And here comes Torian. He ain't gonna let nobody take his crown away from being petty. Look at this. This Torian sent the super chat. He says, "Merces are whom by Mitches are worn. Are worn by Mitches. If you replace the Mitches with a B, replace the Mitches with a B. So these are people. These are bad Mitches. These are bad Mitches." Who are not owning purses, because those are for females. They're male, so they're earning or wearing Merces. These are the bad Mitches wearing Merces, all right? Thank you very much, Tori. I appreciate that. But listen, I want you guys to understand the women who were just snapping off, you're going to be in Jim Crow, and then look at these ladies.
Deserves to be condemned. Because after this, if you are still going to check beside her name when it comes to election day, you just as bad as her. Now, let's get into this.
In recent days, your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American...
I'm starting to realize, not even starting to realize, but it's so obvious that she don't know how to answer questions. Okay? Because the question is, you said that your slogan is a new way forward and turning the page. You've been in office for the last 3.5 years. What are you turning the page from? You bring up Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't been in office the last 3.5 years. Okay? Democrats have been in office for the last 12 years, and he was the only Republican within those 12 years, and he only did 4 of those 12 years, and we had the best economy during that time. Okay? So Bret tries to ask her the question again. Okay, let's get you back to the point of the question. Let's try this again. Let's watch.
Of Bret.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
I actually don't. What are you talking about? Because what the hell are you talking about?
That makes me laugh a little bit. It does. If the country is on the wrong path and you've been in office for 3.5 years, you're going to say, but Donald Trump has been running for 3. What? What are you oh my God. Oh my God. She got tore up with that interview. She got completely, that interview should make somebody who was for Kamala not be for Kamala. That should, any rational person who sees that interview should be all like, oh yeah, she can't do this. She can't oh my God. I got to bring that back because that was funny to me how she did that.
Turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
I actually don't. What are you talking about? Because what the hell are you talking about? Do you know how to answer a question? You've been in the White House for the last 3.5 years. Your campaign slogan is turning the page, a new way forward. Where is the new way and what are we turning the page from? And how the fuck does that have anything to do with Donald J. Trump? I mean, if Bozo the Clown was a person, okay. If stupid is as stupid does was in a dictionary, she would be framed with a smile. I don't see how y'all can vote for her after this. He ate that whole interview.
See, this is what real black women think. So when they say the whole thing about black men being misogynist because we don't want to vote for her, are the 2 women I just played, are those 2 women, are they all misogynists? So everybody who doesn't like her is misogynist. Everyone who doesn't like her just don't love their mama. Everybody who doesn't like her has some issue with their baby mama, because we all have to have baby mama drama. Everybody who doesn't like her has one of those issues, right? What about those 2 women? What would you say about those 2 women who actually in their videos, and it's only like a few minutes, they actually articulated legitimate reasons, which is what we have been saying. But you guys have been saying that black men, you guys are just misogynists. You guys are misogynists. Well, what about the thousands of black women who are making videos like those 2 sisters were? The thousands of them who are saying, you know what, I can already tell she would be a terrible president. She would be even if they were still on the Democratic plantation, they would look at her and say, oh, she would be a terrible president. Even if they still had this blinding view of the Democrats, of Obama, of Biden, they would look at her and say, oh, yeah, she can't do that. Oh, she cannot do that. There's thousands of black women like this, and this is what the data is showing. The data is showing this. Because, yeah, it's still a majority, but we have to understand that's a shrinking majority. They're understanding, and this is why they're in panic mode right now. This is why they're doing interviews with Al Sharpton, Roland Martin, The Breakfast Club, The Shade Room. This is why they're doing all of this stuff. Because they understand that the grip that they had, the firm grip that they thought will always be there for the Democratic Party from the black community is slipping away. They don't have that anymore. It's slipping away. It's over with. It's done. Okay? She answers question like a robot. That's all she's trained to do. Like a damn robot. Hold on. Let me put this. Hold on. She answers questions like that. And this is why she's losing. This is why black men and women are off. You have not seen a single, not one, a single black woman articulate all of the flack that she's been getting and say that all of that stuff is undeserved. All of that stuff is unwarranted. All of that stuff she's getting, it's mis or disinformation. That's the talking point that they like to use. I don't know how you spread what is disinformation? How, like, let's take that word. I can understand misinformation, which is really lying, but how do you spread what is spreading disinformation? I get misinformation, which nobody's spreading misinformation because your history is your history. You can't change that. So nobody's spreading misinformation about you locking up black people and you are refusing to let black people go until the courts made you because you wanted black people to be used to put out forest fires in California. That's not misinformation. It's not misinformation to talk about Shirley Peebles, I'm sorry. Who a black mother who you locked up because of truancy laws, even though her daughter was sick with sickle cell. That's not misinformation. It's not misinformation for us to talk about the fact that you withheld evidence against a black man that you knew was innocent because it would exonerate him. That's not misinformation. It's not misinformation to talk about the fact that you and Biden opened up the borders and allowed thousands of illegals to come in here. Now we have prison gangs from other countries in America taking over apartment complexes. That's not misinformation. It's not misinformation to say that it was because of your administration and the way you all handle things with the pandemic is your administration's fault that we are having this recession problem right now. That's not misinformation. So what part of what we are saying is misinformation actually? Because they use the words misinformation, disinformation all the time. They use those words all of the time, and none of them can really articulate what the misinformation is. Because nobody's saying you lock thousands. Anytime they say misinformation, they always talk about, well, there's people who are saying you locked 1 million people up for weed. That's not misinformation because nobody's made that statement. You guys are making that statement because you guys are wanting to combat something. You guys are making that statement because you guys are using it as a straw man argument. But you actually did lock black people up for weed. So that is actually a true statement. You can't say she didn't. She did. So where's the misinformation? I really want to know where the misinformation is. And then, can somebody please define me how a person spreads disinformation? How do you disinform someone of something? How does someone know something and then you strip their knowledge away from them and you throw it away? How do you take knowledge from somebody? How does that work? Like, is this Men in Black and you pick up a pen and the pen got a red light, a red flash, and then you just lose all your memory? That's the only time, like, a memory wiping thing. Is this like Professor X and he has to do the thing and he wipes your memory clean? How do you disinform someone? They talk about misinformation and disinformation. Where is the disinformation? How is that happening? And then disinform you about what? What have you done that we are disinformed about? Because we are very informed about the fact that you grew up in a middle-class family. We're very informed about that. We're very informed about the fact that you had a godmother who owned a small business. We're very informed about that. You told us that 1,010,000 times. We know that. You cannot disinform us enough with that information. We know that very clearly. Okay. Where is the disinformation and misinformation? And see, with logical people, that's not gonna, you can say disinformation and misinformation. That's not gonna move nobody. That's not gonna help. This is why this is why her polls are so bad. Al Sharpton cannot help her. Obama cannot help her. They bought Usher and Lizzo out there to help. They ain't moving the needle. Because despite what you might think of Usher and Lizzo, they not sitting up there. They're not political influencers in the community. So they can dance and sing all they want to. That's not going to help nobody. I can guarantee you this man ain't going to help nobody. I can guarantee you this man ain't going to help nobody. You don't have no help nowhere. And my question is, you trying to make this big appeal to the black community, I think is interesting because I don't see you trying to make this appeal to your Indian community. You're not trying to make the same appeal to your Indian community, and the Indian community don't like you. Last I heard, the Indian community does not like you, and you don't really have a lot of support from the Indian community like that. Why are you not going to the Indian community? Why is nobody shaming Indian men? Why is nobody being all like, if Indian men don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, they just don't like Indian women? Why are we not hearing that talking point? Because she is Indian. She's Indian. Why are we not hearing the talking point where if Indian men don't want to vote for her, that's because of misogyny? If Indian men don't want to vote for her, that's because of sexism. Why are we not hearing that talking point? Why are we only hearing that talking point with black men? That's the only thing. Now, you were Indian all your life, and now all of a sudden you're black. And we're not hearing that talking point with Indian men. Very interesting. But like I said, again, when you look at the polls, you see black women are leaving the Democratic plantation year after year. It started with Obama. It kept going through Clinton. It kept going through Biden. And now it's at Harris now. Now she's facing less black support than even Biden did. She has less black support now than Biden did. We are a couple weeks away from the election. It's not looking good. Her program thing, that, like the other sister said, they shouldn't even be having her out there at this point. The thing is that after she got announced, they tried to hide her from the camera, and we can clearly see why now. They tried to hide her from the camera for so long, but now it's last minute. Now she has to be in front of the camera. They tried to hide her from the camera because they knew she was going to perform like this. And now when she gets in front of the camera, people are like, nah, I'm cool. And the thing is that they can't have her go back in hiding, because they need to energize more people to get out to vote for her. But the more they show her, the worse it gets. So they're just done. They just done, y'all. They just done. It's over. All those robotic program talking points is not working. They're not saving her. Okay? This robot Kamala, we're just going to use the robot Kamala, the robot K. Robot Kamala is not going to work. Where you hit a certain button and she talks about the border bill, the bipartisan border bill. That's the hashtag we're going to be using for tonight's program. Robot Kamala. You hit a certain button. She talks about, I was raised in a middle-class family Okay, and my mother had to save up so she can buy a house. So I know what it. No, we're not gonna talk about that no more. You press another button. My godmother, who was like our second mother, she had a small business. So I love small businesses. That's not gonna work. You press another button. Whoa, we had a bipartisan border bill, which a lot of conservatives agreed with. But you know who killed it? Donald Trump. And you know why? Because he'd rather run on a problem instead of fixing the problem. I'm about fixing problems. That is not going to work. All of that program stuff, that's not going to move nobody. That's not going to move nobody. Nah, it's over with. Robot Kamala, it's over with. Even if you, let's be honest, even if you were given answers that people disagreed with, at least people would understand that that's coming from you. The way you keep regurgitating the same exact talking points word for it would be better if it was the same answer. But the fact that you're giving the same answer word for word, phrase for phrase, the exact same way every single time, we understand that this is a script you read it one way and you memorized that, so you can only regurgitate it in one way. The average person, I want you to think about this. If you ask them a question, they will be able to give you the answer. Even if they give you the answer, the same answer, if you ask them in a different way, they would give you the same answer in a different wording. If the person gives you the same answer in the exact same wording every single time, that's because that's the answer that they've rehearsed in their head to say every single time. Every time. Police officers do this all of the time, because when somebody commits a crime and they're in an interrogation room and they're asking them the question, what the detectives do is they say, well, more than likely this person committed this crime. They rehearsed an answer. They rehearsed an alibi. They rehearsed an excuse in their head. And you only memorized it one single way because it really didn't happen. So the detectives know that. So that's why the detectives get to asking questions, and then they follow up, or they ask the same question in a different way. And that's when the person starts to slip up, because the person knows that it didn't really happen, and the person is only programmed to give the answer in one format, in one way. The detectives, if you watch the first 48 or any detective show, the detectives know how to cross-examine somebody and get an answer, because somehow the person is going to wind up slipping. The person is going to wind up contradicting themselves. The person is going to wind up leaving something out that they originally said, or adding something that they originally did not add. And the person is going to wind up giving the information away. Police officers do this all of the time. And what's interesting is that Kamala Harris was a district attorney, wasn't she? She was a district attorney, and she was an attorney general. So you think that she would be a perfectionist at this. That's what you think. You think that she would be able to nail every single interview perfectly if she was any good at those jobs. I think we should look at how well she was as a district attorney and an attorney general. If we're going to be very honest, if she can't do an interview, how was she able to cross-examine anybody if she can't do an interview? When she does an interview, she literally acts like a guilty suspect. And this was supposed to be a prosecutor who, let her tell it, prosecuted transnational criminals for the trafficking of drugs, human beings, and other things. So come on now. Come on. Yeah, all that robots, it was making me think, well, how were you as a prosecutor? We got to revisit your cases, because if you won any of them, it's probably because you withheld evidence or something, which you actually did, to be very honest. Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Robot Kamala is not looking good for you. It's not looking good. But we've been on here for a good minute, brothers and sisters. We talked about this Al Sharpton stuff is not working. It is not working, because just like a detective who's going to cross-examine somebody, when you cross-examine somebody and you see that that person is not doing well, When you see that person is telling inconsistencies in their story, that person is adding things, subtracting things, that person's body language is showing that they're frustrated, which her body language reads guilty all of the time. When that person does that, or that person keeps giving the same talking points in the exact same way, with the exact same phrasing, the exact same words, in the exact same order, we all know that that's a lie. So any rational person would be all like, no, that's not for me. And this is black men and black women. And that's why I made sure to play those two clips from those two sisters to let you know that black women, I don't want you to feel I'm bashing black women, because I believe black women are not on this ridiculous page. I believe there are more black women who are logical, who make sense, than there are who don't. I believe the black women who are crazily emotional, the black women who just want to see a black woman in charge, have this misandrous view of the world. I believe the black women who just don't think at all, just do what they're told and listen to anything they hear on social media. I believe that that's actually not the majority. I don't think that that's the majority. I think the majority are the black women who actually will look into something, will investigate something, have their own opinions on something, and can formulate their own conclusions and ask their own questions of something. That's who I think is the majority. And the polls are actually bearing that to be true, are showing that that is the case. So with that being said, my brothers and sisters, I need you guys to make sure that you guys follow me on my various social media so you don't miss out on anything, because some people say that they don't get their notifications, or they get their notifications late, and we understand that. So make sure that you guys follow me on my various social media platforms. That's Afro Elite on Instagram, and then The Afro Elite on Twitter or X, and the links to both of those are in the description below. If you guys are new, it's very important that you guys subscribe to the channel. Very, very important. Also, whether you're new or not new, it's very important that you guys lock in and hit that thumbs up button. Very important, so we can let it be known that black women is not on this ridiculous page, and that your pathetic black misandry appeal to shame black vote is not working. It is not working at all. So make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up button and that notification bell, so that way you don't miss out, because sometimes I don't pop up on the top of somebody's recommendations, even if I'm going live on their news thing. So the notification button helps out a lot with that. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. Let the people know that your rehearsed, scripted, program talking points is actually turning people off. We have to let it be known that the black community is turned off by your very vague, ambiguous answers that are programmed. We're sick of hearing it. So let's let them know that in the comment section below. And with that being said, B1 salute to every single last one of you all. And of course, you all have a good one.